Well, hello there. Today we are going to talk about Susanna Clarke's new book. Did you know this was actually made for radio? I'm going to turn this light off. Maybe we don't need it. Did you know this was actually made for radio? She was commissioned by Radio 4 to write a Christmas story. Lo and behold, I only found that out after I read it. But you know what? When your library has a book that you could have paid, how much was this? £10 for 50 pages? Oh, I'm getting flashbacks of Jon Foster's The Shining. Susanna Clarke. Some people might feel a bit confused, like why would I read another Susanna Clarke when one of my most popular book reviews is me hating on Piranesi. Look, what's 50 pages between friends? At least it's not the like 800 pages of this book. I can never remember its name. But lo and behold, this book, why is everything falling today? This book follows Merodas's journey into the woods with some animal friends. But I do want to provide some context for people because the context might matter depending on the context. For context, I've not read this book that I can never remember, but Merodis features in this book. Is it relevant? I don't know, I've not read it and I'm really not inclined to. Merodis sets out into the woods and she says the wood is like the church and the church is like a wood. That's a metaphor and a half. What that means is a little bit of a head scratcher. I really have been like pondering what that is. But before we venture into the woods, we learn about saintly behaviour. And actually, Apple the pig says that saints do really horrible things. In fact, saints in Christian mythology, where a lot of this is drawn from, Christianity, saints, oh my god, they like attack hell. Like, what on earth is going on? Can you see that? What? Viva Las New Vegas, I mean Viva Las London, people. I mean, what were we expecting? But actually, if you think about saint and the term saintly, they are a juxtaposition. Saints are very free. They're also but they are, during their time, contentious. The story or the mythology of saints, pick your theological choosing, are mostly stories which buck trends. They do things which otherwise would cause a stir during that day. So we're following this young girl who wants a family, really. She wants a family and feels that there's no one really able to provide her that. She doesn't feel at home or at ease with others. She feels her ease in the church. And if the church is like the wood, she's going to find home there. And so she leaves at Christmastide into the wood. The wood is like the church is like the wood. But what does that mean? What does it mean? Well, the woods, for some people, like if you've read Walden, a place for renewal, for rejuvenation, but also to find calm. But at the same time, the image of the wood is one that is entangled and ensnared with that of terror, of loneliness, and of alienation. Like, we've seen this like throughout the literary canon. Look at Snow White. Like, when Snow White goes into the wood, I don't think her name is just a image of purity and naivety. She goes into the woods and is scared. She is disturbed by what she finds, but ultimately that disturbance is her fate. It doesn't matter how at ease she feels with her animal friends. This story seems to do Snow White in reverse. Merodis is gleeful and there's no ounce of pensivity alongside the pig and the two dogs. But when they meet the bird and the fox, that world begins to shatter around her. And just like that, entrenched within the stone church, you can't really get away from the fact that these stories that you believe in or other people believe in, that you don't believe in, and what other people don't believe in, all revolve around the fact that we are going to die and the legacy that we are going to leave behind. We are going to die one day, and church, just like the wood, informs us through a primitive or a religious manner that our mortality is finite, that we are going to die, and there's no way really out of it, no matter if you decide to look for the green grass or the London city landscape. It's dire. This is dire. I can see why people want to leave the city. Maybe for some people that sounds a bit too deep, but fables have this very childlike quality to it, and the more that you dig into them, the darker and more depressing they are. They weren't called the Brothers Grimm for any other reason. Actually, they were called another reason. That was just their last name. So in fact, they were called that by a very different name. Isn't that a head scratcher? But yes, Merodis gets into a conversation with the wood, saying that she wants a son and that the son is very important. And the tree agrees for her. But just like Apple the pig is very pivotal in this. He can see through the BS. And he goes, are you saying son like the human or son like the planet? Which one do we revolve around? Is it the physical or the metaphysical? Are we talking about the celestial body or the divine body of Jesus Christ? Or, in fact, if the wood is like the church and the church is like the wood, are the physical and the metaphysical exceptionally entwined? And now to sound a little bit like Jordan Peterson, what do you mean by wood? Or what do you mean by church? It's too easy. Yes, the physical and the metaphysical will become almost intertwined. The story of the saint, be it literal, be it metaphorical, is one that has stayed with people, and the regaling and the retelling of these stories are maybe more true than what they actually are. It's thought-provoking, but it's definitely not original. Susanna Clarke even says that within her afterwards, that stories are just old stories misremembered, and that's basically what's happening. We have these sort of ideas, these tropes, and indeed there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would say that these stories we're very much used to. The fact that Merodis' son, that she is given a bear cub, doesn't even seem to be completely absurd or out of the line based on the talking animals, the conscious wood. A bear cub that you're going to raise, yes, it sounds fairly straightforward. And then the image, the legacy of Merodis seen through her sister Ysolva is that she has become a saint. She has bucked the trend. She has become contentious within the story. Again, the story seems to be somewhat related to this novel, which I can never remember the name of. Is it that intertwined? Is it relevant? Does it add a new layer? I'm not entirely sure. I can't really say that. This short little story, The Wood at Midwinter, is a good read. And in fact, because we know that it was commissioned as a radio play, you can actually go and listen to it on radio. Take that, audiobook people. What are you going to do now? Is radio reading? I'm watching you. Don't even think you can mess with me. I'll one-up you every single time. But yes, go and check this out like I did at your local library. Don't pay £10 for a 50-page book. Check it out. And check it out. Oh yeah, 6 out of 10. So I forgot like the most important, cliched part of my videos. 6 out of 10.